Peace, what's going on, everybody? Real quick, gotta keep it brief. I'm actually waiting for my son to come out of an appointment anyway. I wanted to do a video because I said I would, and I'm gonna keep them short, but I really wanted to address this because I kind of procrastinated, and the reality is that if I keep procrastinating, it's just gonna keep on happening. Which is one of my personal issues that I am working through anyway. What I want to talk about is the mass shootings and the gun laws and just the buzzwords and things that everybody is talking about, right? Just real brief, I was going to do a video about the Buffalo shooting. Then I it was just a bunch of stuff going on. I waited, and then the Uvalde shooting happened, and I was like, well, damn, I'm gonna talk about that. And then just recently, the situation in Illinois on the 4th of July. So the consistency of these shootings are, becoming more and more. So I think I might as well just do it now. What's crazy to me is that we, in this country, in America, we have had over 300, I believe the number is 306, but we've had 300 or more mass shootings this year alone. We haven't had 300 days this year where there have been 300 mass shootings. Now, just to be clear, a mass shooting is classified as 3 or more people being killed, right? Or being shot, rather, in a public setting. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I believe that it's like 3 or 4 somewhere in there, right? We've had that happen over 300 times in America this year alone. Babies have been killed in school. Old people have been killed. People who were shot at a funeral home. Like, it's crazy, right? And we have the media and these politicians talking about, these gun laws and gun restrictions. And some of it is pie in the sky. And most of the pie in the sky stuff, just for the record, is coming from just, the regular Joe. Most of them are not gun owners. And the defense, especially by the Republicans right now, is, now I won't even say lackluster, it's terrible. And the reality is both sides are missing. And I intend on at least making an attempt at bridging that gap as far as understanding goes, right? First things first, full disclosure, I am a gun owner, right? So if that makes you not want to listen to what I have to say, whether you agree or disagree, that's on you, but I want to put that out there, right? One of the things that is being discussed is the age increase to purchase certain firearms. I don't see why that is up for discussion. I don't see why it is 18 to purchase a AR and 21 to purchase a handgun. It makes no sense to me, right? The argument, the hunting argument, we can have that in the comment section if you like. If you happen to hunt with an AR-15, we should talk about that. We can talk about that if you like, right? But the reality is, if you have an AR-15, it is not for hunting. It is. I have an AR-15. It is for defense. It is not even my home defense weapon, right? That is my WTF firearm. Right? I got it, I tweaked it, I became proficient with it, and it is safely tucked away, yet accessible, right? Which is, we're gonna come back to that. And the reason that I have an AR is neither here nor there, right? The truth is that I can, so I do. Right? I also have handguns, which are the guns that I would go to for self-defense or home defense, right? But an AR, again, that's not a hunting gun, but I'm all for you having your AR if that's what you want to have. It is your right, right? But 21 does not seem to be a problem. just briefly, I'm not going to go too deep into it, but I also feel that that should be the age, the minimum age to sign up for the military, right? Everybody likes to argue that the frontal cortex, I believe it is, some part of the brain doesn't develop and fully develop until you're in your 20s. This is universal for humans, right? But we put guns in these kids' hands and send them to foreign countries and tell them those are the bad guys, kill them. And we've been doing that for years, right? This is not like video game culture. This is not like some new age, newfangled idea. This is what our government has been doing forever, and it has to stop, in my opinion, right? I do not feel that 18-year-olds especially, or 21-year-olds for that matter, should go into the military. But that is neither here nor there. We're talking about guns. And just to reiterate, I am all for guns, for the age being raised for guns. I do not believe that that is a pie in the sky idea. Another thing that I am in full support of that not a lot of people are talking about is accountability, right? Now, I said earlier that I have an AR-15 that is my WTF firearm, and it is tucked away safely and securely, but accessible, right? And that is all the difference. I have two children, two young men who live with me at home still, and their mom. And the reality is my sons are 19 and 17 years old. If one of them were to be able to access any of my firearms and go out and commit a mass shooting, I am responsible. I shouldn't, if there's a state that has like the death sentence for something like that, or, you know, whatever, no, that should not be on the table as far as penalty goes. But some sort of jail time for negligence absolutely positively falls on me. And I'm not just talking about the civil suits, I'm talking about legally. There needs to be some sort of accountability for anyone whose firearm is used in commission of one of these atrocities. Point blank, period, full stop. If you disagree, I'd love to have a debate with you in the comments, so let me know. But I don't see a problem with that. I do not believe that to be a pie in the sky idea either, right? Then I hear a lot of people, and this is not like politicians, this is more regular everyday Joes, and I might add regular everyday Joes that do not possess firearms, right? I hear a lot of them say, well, they need to just ban all ARs and outlaw and confiscate all of them. That, my friends, is a pie in the sky idea, meaning that is impossible. There is no mechanism in place or a mechanism that could be put in place that could possibly take the AR-15 or any gun like that out of the American home. There's no way that could happen. And I'm not even talking about the folks that have these arms that will shoot at whomever comes to try to take it out of their house forcibly, right? But just logistically speaking, there is no way to account for every AR-15. Therefore, there's no way to recall every AR-15, right? So if they were to say ban them, let's say that they ban sales of AR-15s, right? Because I've heard that too. Would make zero difference. In fact, all that would do would be to create a black market, right? Because if you ban them, you already know you can't get mine out of my house, right? Unless I voluntarily give it up. Maybe there could be some kind of government incentive. We'll give you maybe $10,000 for every AR that you turn in or something like that. Then maybe people would consider it. Other than that, I do not see any way that people would voluntarily give up their AR-15s. You cannot put people in jail because they don't want to give up their AR-15. Fuck the Second Amendment. Not fuck the Second Amendment, but regardless of the Second Amendment, there's no space for all of the people who would fill up these jail cells. Can't happen, right? This is why I'm saying there's no mechanism that is in place or that could be put in place to get rid of the AR-15, right? And that is where I become at a loss, right? Because I don't honestly see a way, at least not for the government, to really end these mass shootings. I think that if more people are armed, that, that might stop, like the Walmart kind of stuff, or, they had a situation out on the West Coast in Vegas a couple years ago in Walmart, and they shot up like a CC's Pizza, which is like a pizza joint. If there had been some people other than the police officers who got killed in that situation that had firearms, then possibly we could prevent these kinds of things. But the reality is that we have to focus on mental health. I think that is priority number one, and the thing that everyone misses. And I think that as Americans, while we are in a lot of ways, especially with the younger generation, a larger percentage of them are paying closer attention to mental health, namely their own mental health, and doing things and taking steps that are necessary to ensure that they are in good mental health. But that still needs to be spoken about, especially in a situation with these mass shootings, right? Which brings me to the idea of more stringent laws, right? They definitely can do something more and not just raise the age to 21 for the purchase of certain guns, but there should be more intense screening for everyone who possesses a gun. Right? And here's the thing, another thing that I've heard people talk about is the idea of people being able to report other people. Here's why that won't work. You have people who are just anti-gun, right? And if they find out that I have a gun in my house or guns in my house, they'll call and say, oh, well, this guy, he is mentally unstable. They can make up anything. They would have to invade my privacy in some way, shape, form, or fashion to gain any sort of proof, which they wouldn't have, right? But now that creates a whole system of people who are trying to get guns away from people in a less than moral kind of way, right? Let's say that there is somebody who is observed who really might be, on that spectrum of stability where, somebody might need to step in. Well, you got HIPAA issues then, because what happens is you can make that kind of a report and go in, you can try to take those guns, but those people are going to be entitled to getting some sort of a physician, right, a psychologist, a psychiatrist to evaluate them, and then they have to go in. This is where the HIPAA law comes into play, because now is the doctor allowed to submit his findings, whether it's good or bad, in favor or not in favor of the patient, right, of the person. It's a violation of HIPAA to disclose this information, right? Now, you can correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section. Maybe like in a court situation, it could be subpoenaed or whatever the case may be, but the reality is that would probably happen so much and gum up the system that it would become unconstitutional, because a speedy process is part of, what we're entitled to. So you can't have somebody report me possibly falsely, and you come in and violate my right to have my firearm, and then it takes you 5 months, 6 months, 8 months, a year, or however long to get the process back to the point where I can have my guns. You know what I'm saying? That won't happen. So that is another pie in the sky idea, right? Now, I know there are those that are going to say, well, all you're doing is pointing out the obvious. Yes, that is true. However, I am trying to also spark discussions about what else we can do that is actually realistic. Because the truth is that a lot of the ideas that people are getting behind, the public is getting behind, at least that I see, are they're not possible. They're good ideas, maybe, but all of them have extreme faults and would create a way larger problem, or maybe not a larger problem than well over 300 mass shootings in, however many days. I think we're at like 200 days now or something like that, right? But either way, it would gum up the works of the legal system in a really wild way that it just wouldn't work, right? However, there has to be some sort of a middle ground. I think that if a law is imposed, at least moving forward, for everyone that wants to purchase a firearm, this is how you got to do it, right? Make it more difficult. Make the process more intense. Make the background checks more intense, right? Hire the people to do that. That's going to create jobs. That's revenue. That's a win around the board, right? I think that is one way that we can control the guns that are already out there, or control the guns that are going to be put out there. As far as the guns that are already out there, realistically, anybody that already has a gun that doesn't have a CCW, I don't believe that there's a way that we could force anyone who is already in possession to, follow any extra steps or whatever. But as far as CCWs, which is something that I have, that's a concealed carry. If you are a CCW holder, like myself, I personally would not have any problem, having to take an extra step and maybe go see somebody and answer some questions and discuss my mental stability. Now, the truth in that, there's still, because the reality is, most people, a lot of people, I won't say most people, but there are going to be people who may have the intent to go out and shoot, do a mass shooting, who can fake it long enough to pass these things, but who knows? I think that all of these things kind of have to play off of each other, and if they work in tandem, I think that we could see a drop in those numbers. But again, mainly, I believe that the public mental health issue in America has to be discussed more intensely, more sincerely, and we have to actually destigmatize, first of all, the idea of needing help to deal with issues that you're having mentally, right? I come from an era, I'm 48 years old, I come from an era where seeking help, for anything mental, whether it be anxiety, PTSD, abuse, whatever, I come from an era where you were viewed as weak or less of a man if you address these issues or you seek help, right? The youth is destigmatizing that, which is awesome in my opinion. And I think that can play in tandem with some of these new gun laws as well, right? But something has to change, right? As far as the NRA goes, F those guys. Like, I'm not, like I said, I'm a gun owner, right? I don't rock with the NRA at all. They are all about cash grabbing, and they don't really support or get behind anybody, but they definitely don't get behind or support any black people who are in situations involving firearms, and and hold them down or back them up in any way. And we could debate that in the comment section if you like as well. Anyway, this video went way longer than I intended. I would love some feedback from any of y'all, as far as whether you agree with what I said or disagree, any other points that you think could be brought up. the reason I think that it's important that we have these discussions is because we are in an election year. It's the midterm election in 2022, right? We're really like months away from that. And we need to seriously think about who we are putting in office and what they're going to support and what they're going to fight for. And we should, as the people, it's on us to kind of lay out what we want, right? So the things that I think would work, I would love for y'all to tell me if you think they would work, and get behind it. Start writing some letters or sending some emails or making some phone calls to your local, politicians and saying, hey, these are the things that we want, and we need to hear you start talking about them and start voting for them, and maybe we can get some kind of change that way, right? But in the meantime, in between time, I'm gonna see y'all later. And I'm gonna obviously be coming back to discuss this again. The next video that I do like this, I'll probably do a little bit more research, and probably have it, where I have some talking points and some more accurate statistics to discuss with y'all. But I will see you soon, and I'll be discussing something else, so make sure that you come back. Also, you can check my Patreon, and pretty soon I'm going to be getting back on other social media, such as Instagram and TikTok and all of that. So when I do that, I would love if you guys follow me there. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and feel free to share it so that we can expand the conversation. All right, till the next time, peace.